Give thanks and praise. Big love and respect, dissidents. Touching on a myriad of subjects today. We're going all over the place. I think we're going to call this one Paranoid Delusional Claptrap. I think that's what we're going to call this one. Now that I have solar standstills in my heavens, I see so much more clearly. So much more clearly now. I believe that a lot of ingredients that are already in our language are artifacts with powerful correspondence to heavenly relationships, to the dynamics of the sky, and heavenly bodies in their proximity to each other. So our paranoid delusional claptrap will be an adventure in following the rabbit. There's a great big cosmic rabbit up there, Lepus. And Lepus is in Gemini. Lepus is where JFK was born. JFK's birthday was under Lepus. He was a Gemini. Trump, old Chumpster, he's a Lepus. He's a Gemini, but he's in Lepus. Lepus is right in, I think it's more central. I believe it's more central. But it's right in this area, next to the Canis Major and Minor. It's next to Orion. And one thing about this this tropical arrangement is that it is deceiving. You know, it gives the illusion of proximity to things that are not necessarily accurate. You know, you kind of have to be in 2 or 3 zodiacs at once, because these lines are not in even weights and measures, cosmically speaking. It's just a rough estimate, but I'm just going to point out Lepus and the Canis Minor are very close to each other, and right in between them is a very profound constellation that I want to talk about today, and that is Monoceros. I really want to talk about the Monoceros, and I know that's probably tickling Mario Garza's curiosity. He is a big fan of the Monoceros. I think he's gone down this particular rabbit warren in the past. Monoceros is the unicorn. It is often depicted on heraldry. When you flip one other thing, Monoceros has its tongue sticking out like Kali. And that is a very strong symbol, that correspondence to Kali. But when you flip the island of the United Kingdom upside down and you place Monoceros next to it, there is a very interesting kind of peninsular alignment with what almost looks like a animal's mouth and a tongue sticking out. And you could very easily make the argument that it is Monoceros, this strange peninsula, corresponding peninsulas on the southwest corner of the United Kingdom. So I got a graphic for that I'll try to share. Just kind of neat that they've got that Kali Monoceros unicorn. But I want to put all of this in the context of Hera and her pre-Greek cultural implications, as the Monoceros is always in chains. It always has shackles, much like the statue of Libre, Statue of Liberty. You know? Boom. Statue of Liberty is in chains, is in shackles. Well, that's a freaking horse's hoof. You know, that's a horseshoe. Also, the sun comes from the east. Hera's previous cultures, where she came from, were easternly. And the symbol for the standstill is, oh, so very much like this horseshoe shape. Also, I have images of Hathor from a decode I did on the $100 bill. Hathor's image is also this crazy looking castration tool. I can't even, it looks something like there. It looks just like this. And it's used for circumcision, it's used for castration. It comes with this other weird looking object. It's like a dabbler. I forget what they're called, what these implements are called. It looks very phallic, right? Very, very uber phallic. But you take those two shapes, and not only are they a decode for the classic images of Hathor, but it also, you can integrate them and you'll get the Ukraine flag. Quite the trip, quite the trip. But all of these cultures from the East were seem to be preserved in these signs and symbols. And I got to mention the Libra symbol is also, this is the Orient. This is the orientation. Most of the continents of Europe will perceive the sun rising in the east, and that's what this is also signifying. You know, and the mastery of exchange, weights and measures. You know, the spice routes. They needed the scales to have commerce with distant cultures. So a lot of those artifacts are still preserved. But now that I know about the lunar standstill nodes, north and south, it is really blowing my mind. Going back to the story of Vulcan, Hephaestus, Auriga, the charioteer, Erichthonius, all those names can be encapsulated, almost like a bloodline, in the concept of Vulcan. You could almost make it chronological. You could say, let's see, let me try. You could say that Vulcan begot Hephaestus, begot Auriga, begot Erichthonius. And Erichthonius is the most mundane, earthly, actually some historical evidence of a persona named Erichthonius who fulfills all of those predecessors. But they are all caught up in this idea of Vulcan, and now today it's Greta Thunberg. You know, this wounded leader, thought leader, influencer, shall we say, very manipulative, infamously manipulative. All right. So I want to bring, ultimately what I want to do is I want to talk about the arrangement of this cult, this cult in the sky. And I'm not talking about Pegasus. I want to be specific. Pegasus is huge. Pegasus is much more renowned and well known, and it is very significant. Pegasus is where actually begins down here. This is a good example of why the lines are meant to be broken. Pegasus starts in Aquarius and extends all the way up through Aries and probably touches almost on some of Taurus territorially. So it's a bridge. It bridges a vast space of the heavens. It's one of the largest constellations, and Pegasus is where Andromeda's head is embedded into the belly of the horse. So, you know, myths about a woman engaging with an animal, you know, those are probably in there. But I'm quite sure that Andromeda is Julian Assange, chained up. We've talked about that. So it's not Pegasus I'm talking about. It's another horse who is more or less here in Gemini or Taurus, which I am quite convinced that Hera is being venerated by all things that are the bull, that are moon-oriented. You know, even the High Priestess card has a lot of Hera in there. I guess you could say almost all of the feminine characters have strong correspondence if they to Hera. That's tricky because Venus makes a crescent moon as well. So if you're seeing two crescent moons, you could say one is for Venus and one is for Hera. The smaller, if there's a small one, it would be for Venus as it's more distant. But they do have crescent moon phases. All right. But we're going to talk about Monoceros because I think those are the in Monoceros, its abbreviation is Mon. M-O-N. Is the astrological abbreviation for Monoceros, this unicorn. So we do have a line of consistency here with the moon of Monday and all these things going attributed to Hera. But I want to play with this word, Manos of Eros. Manos of Eros. Could this be the hands of Eros, of Hera? Just a thought. The hands of Hera. And something that is really kind of tickles my fancy is that apparently the way that theoretically, this is a theory, something to think about, that it doesn't matter how you spell a word. That's not where the magic is. In the material world is not where the magic is. It's the spirit of the sound of it. And so when I take these these wonderful liberties, these freedoms of enunciation and interpretation of a word, it brings more potentiality to life, you know. So that's actually, there's a lot to say about that. But the thought that it's not the way that it's spelled, it's the sounds that it makes that are more important. You know, the word sin is to miss the mark in archery, right? In Greek, the Greek word for sin is to miss the mark. And so also in philology, the word for bending of vowels is correspondent with drawing the bowstring. So when I take these liberties with the meaning of the letters and how they come forward phonetically, I'm tweaking my pull on the drawstring. And maybe the way that it was written is not a good draw. Maybe the way that I'm doing it is a better draw to hit the target, to be more accurate, to be removed from the sin of the misinterpretation. Just a thought that there is a sinfulness to being trapped in the written domain of being right and wrong, and taking these liberties. You know, maybe we're drawing the bow back a little further than it was first read. Just a thought there. And archery goes to Artemis and Apollo. But I think this is also the diaphragm. I think Artemis, because of the sophocate, because of the breathing, I think Artemis is the Diana. She's the diaphragm. And Apollo could be I'm thinking he's the kidneys. yeah, just a thought, just an idea. I'm way off track. And this is some claptrap, I tell you what. All right. So we're talking about the cult of the cult, right? There's a cult around this cult. The cult is located near this winter triangle. And the winter triangle really stood out for me because it's equilateral. And I know that these Pythagorean cults, they really love their triangles. And this winter triangle is an equilateral triangle. And all of it made me think very much about Joseph Robinette Bident, and his assertion that there would be dark winters under his reign, as he is silver-haired, winter, white, much like the cult of the Monosaurus, even Pegasus as well. You know, the white horse initiation. And that this winter triangle has a lot of very interesting things caught up in its location. There is a printing press constellation under the cult's crotch. It's like the cult is taking a dump on the printing press. And there's also a constellation right in that neck of the woods called Puppis. Puppis. The poop is dropping out of the cult's ass and landing on the printing press. There's also a nebula called the Seagull Nebula, and that really gets me because they used to use seagull's blood for printing for ink. The Constitution, which sounds a lot like Constellation now that I'm thinking about it. But no, the Constitution was handwritten in cursive with on goat skin with seagull's blood and lead shavings, lead filings. So it's got the lead of Saturn, it's got the seagull and a dead animal. So to read the Constitution is to be a reader of the auguries. And sure enough, very near the cult in the winter triangle and the printing press and the Puppis, there is a really tiny constellation called the Augur. He is a reader of the augurs. Forget his name. I'll try to maybe bring forward some. And he culturally he's been changed. He's been altered from an augur reader to something else. I'm not 100% sure, but he might be like fully integrated into the printing press. But it's all very proximal, all close to this triangle and the cult of Monosaurus. So now that I'm seeing the significance of the eclipse, I realize that, you know, somebody put these systems in play, these standards in place a very long time ago, such that they could assume a passive role, and the masses over time will pick up these words, these tools, these vehicles that we use to convey information, and use them and not realize how supercharged these words and inventions are with deep esoteric meaning. Excuse me. Recently I rewatched some of the Interverse from a long time ago, like 8 months back, and Chance was talking about the word Dylan Secotioism is that the word legend in German means to lie. Lügen means to lie. I thought that was pretty next level, as if you manipulate the metrics of the legend of a map, you can hide an entire continent. You can hide entire territories. You can hide all of the plus ultra. Now, what really trips me out is how the leg end is Italy. Italy is the leg end. It's the end of the leg. Leg end Harry, that's Bigfoot. Legendary. That's Bigfoot for sure. Which the original Bigfoot is Enkidu. Gilgamesh goes off in the woods and he finds this frickin' GMO creature who's hairy. It's Chewbacca. Chewbacca, Enkidu. These are all legendary beasts of old. But what kind of tripped me out about that idea is how Hephaestus, Vulcan, has been kicked out of Olympus multiple times. And that is so funny because at the leg's end of Italy is Sicily, where the volcano is. Sicily. And what is the name of that town? Seneca? No. Seneca? Sardinia. I forget. I forget the capital there on the island of Sicily. So yeah, very fascinating how our words are hiding these really fun puns. You know, our elders are punsters. You know, fucking dad technology here, big time. So, seraphim. Firearms is SERRAFIM. Seraphim is firearms. And anybody who knows about your seraphim should know about your firearms. Now, you're going to have to tolerate my globe Earth theory here. Let's go. Right, and oh gosh, am I going to get this? Am I going to get this? Whoop. And whoop. This is the nature of the two nodes of the lunar standstill. And it's an imperfect depiction of it. This is an artistic rendition of an idea. Okay, so hang in there. All right, so the two nodes, there's a north node and a south node. Well, that is what a seraphim looks like. If you've ever seen, I can't even do a seraphim. I'll bring up a nice seraphim picture, but you can see that the seraphim is encoded also in the lunar standstill. Now look close. I'm going to break this down. I'm going to take this part off of the bottom and I'm going to take this part off of the top. You see how I just dismantled the seraphim? I just dismantled my firearms mentally. I just disarmed the spell. I just took the power out of the fact that firearms have always been a captured term. Let me tell you how to get the magic back. You write up an affidavit that states that your arms are not firearms. Your arms are not firearms, they're arms. Firearms is a captured term. That's trademarked. That's trademarked. They got a little circle around it. It's captured. It's MK Ultra captured. It's captured. It's captured. It's a captured term. Get your affidavits ready, folks. You're going to need them. So you don't have any firearms. You never have had firearms. You have bare arms. You got fucking bare arms. They can't put another word in front of it to capture it. All right, we're breaking the spell. Caliber. That's really fun. Caliber. This came up on the Vibrant recently. Calibra. Calibre. Calibre. Or Calabria. 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 Calabria is on the end of the leg. It's on the end of the leg. It's a legendary location on the end of the leg of Italy. And it means bright face. It means bright face, I believe. It probably means a lot of other things. I think it means to calibrate, right? Obviously. And they are calibrating the intensity and the magnitude of these eclipse rituals in a very sophisticated way. So I want to talk about a particular ritual that took place in Nova Scotia and has a couple towers in there. We got a Nova Scotia, that's a 1 and a 6. And in Nova Scotia there were 16 fires over a 2-day period. Let's see, I got my notes over here. Took place on April 18th into the 19th. Well, look at that. That's right. That's the moon card and a sun card. And right in the middle, when you divide them by the 2, by the judgment card, the dos Equis, the 2 X's, XX, when you divide them by the 2, you get your 18.5. This is Akhenaten, Akhenaten. This is Solomon. All of these things have always been encoding the power of the lunar standstill. In that event in Nova Scotia, with the 16 fires and all the crazy numerological consistency, the shooting took place, this ritual took place over the course of 13 hours. There's your moon again. It's a 13 moon calendar. Call of the Linder. But 13 is a moon sign. It is the feminine. It is Ophiuchus. It's the 13th apostle. It's Mary stepping off of the zodiac. But you multiply it by the 60 minutes of the hour, and you get 78. And here we know we're dealing with you've walked into the G8s, you've walked through the gates, and you know that the tarot is in play. Tarot. So they called it 13 hours of terror, is what they called it in the news. 13 hours of terror. They're being quite honest on a very deep level. And the people saying the words do not know about the magic that has been laid out for them to pick up and animate. That's part of the clean hands doctrine. You know, you don't want to be around when the shit hits the fan. You want to be far removed when your spell gets activated. All right. So one other fascinating thing about that event, I took a look at the crest, the official crest for Nova Scotia. Am I saying that right? It's not the crest. It's the heraldry. It's the yeah, I guess it is the coat of arms. The coat of arms for Nova Scotia, and it has Monoceros on one side. Monoceros, the unicorn, and it's even got the frickin' tongue sticking out. Oh my God, that's a great. That's a great Monoceros on one side, and it's got it's wearing 2 crowns. It's got a crown on its head, and it's actually got a whole nother crown around its neck. So it is a monster of 2 heads. It's a 2-headed monster. These are people who are of 2 minds. We'll just say that the split of the left and the right hemisphere has been weaponized against them, and they are in chains. Monoceros is in chains. There's very clear chains encoded in the heel, the back leg of Monoceros. There is a very subtle moon hidden in the white haunch of this unicorn. You can tell that's a unicorn, right? But on the other side is this poor indigenous fella with his I think he's got like a bunch of feathers in his hat. It's got blue bands on his headdress. There's a very strong argument that the indigenous peoples were actually practicing Hebrew traditions in their trade practices. 23 arguments that the Native Americans were in fact the lost tribes of Dan. But he's holding an arrow. He also has an arrow in his arm. So what's getting me here, put in a little arrow, he's pointing his arrow down. And now what's getting me is that on the zodiac, one of the eclipse nodes, one of the lunar standstill nodes, is in Sag, and the other one is up in near the cult, near Monoceros, the monocles of Hera, the monocles of Hera. So you count the this fella's dress, the skirt that he's wearing, and it has 1/8 little feathers on his dress. Then his arrow is pointing. I'm gonna have to make a graphic because my handwriting is embarrassing. 1/8, oh my gosh, 1/8, and then you get the point, and it's pointing at a hex. It's pointing at a 6. 1/8.6 is encoded in his garb. He's got 16 leaves on his skirt. He's got an arrow with the point, and he's pointing at the X. X is 24. 2 plus 4 gives you the 6. He is encoding the lunar standstill. And then up above them is a human hand. I'm done. I'm gonna stop. It's a mono shaking hands with a gauntlet, a armored hand. And when you count the knuckles on the armored hand, it's got 19 knuckles on it. It's very unnatural. They had to really work hard to make it inaccurate, that there are 19 little nodules on that hand. So many lunar standstill encodes. Oh, and there's a banner above the whole thing. Let's get all this gnarliness out of the way. The banner that is above the entire image looks very much to me like one great big, let's see, one of those. So I think I might mess it up. Yeah, something like that. The whole banner is a lunar standstill node. I missed a detail. This is a little post-recording addendum. Very important detail, though. Has to do with the symbols and the signs on the cars of the Royal Canadian Mounted Police. We've got our, it's all eclipserific. And you know, we got the new RC, the Rex Charles from my last episode. All of these PSY-ops are being claimed. They have a flag sticking out of them very clearly. And this is trippy. This is really trippy. But Royal Canadian Mounted Police, they've got the 9347. That's silver. 47 is silver. Neptune and the silver. It's many other things also. Just one of many things. I think you could make that into 1316, which is when it's right around the Black Death. It's a plague thing, and their cop cars have the horse. The rider on the horse with a ribbon, with a toxo. A toxon is a ribbon. So there's a horse rider holding the banner. That is also the old school sun card. On many tarot decks, the old sun card is a child riding on the white horse carrying a banner. So that is one ingredient that is on all of the RCMPs. Then the other ingredient is a rainbow. There is a rainbow, and I've talked a lot about how the rainbows are being turned into Rambos. You take the eye which means dragon or serpent. It's the phallus. You take the I out of rainbow and you get Rambo. So it's the eunuch class that is being weaponized and is marching along. And so that horse is the first horse of initiation, carrying his little toxon banner. But what trips me out is that there is a buffalo. There's a buffalo. And the buffalo is on the official coat of arms for these guys. And ladies and gentlemen, I'm going to bring the graphic forward. I freaked myself out with this. But when you take that buffalo, you can fit it in perfectly into the Crowley-Thoth Sun card. So when you eclipse, when you take the Hera and you use it to eclipse this little vacancy right here, it fits in like a hand in a glove right in this location. But I'll bring those graphics forward, and you can see that the buffalo on the cop's car fits into the sun card like an eclipse, and the horn of the buffalo is touching the knees of the children. It's very grotesque. It's absolutely foul what that might imply, but it's the horn knees. There's a lot more visual, a ton of visual puns in play, but they've basically done an eclipse by taking that logo off of the cop car, and you fit it in, and you'll see there's this, the buffalo has this weird tuft of hair that is shoehorned into the image on the cop car. It doesn't even really belong there, but it definitely belongs to fit it like a key in a lock on the sun card. So that was actually part of what tripped me out, kind of freaked me out, made me want to kind of walk away. I was ready to walk away. But I think there's a lot of things going on with like letting G in, letting in G, the Xi Jinping, XI. I think there's a lot of, you know, basically Chinese magics harnessing these Ordo Templi Orientis implements, trying to unlock our psychological defenses. But we're on to them, fools. We're on to them, fools. All right, continuing on with the program. Much love and respect. Sorry about the sloppy editing. I'm laying off the coffee for a couple days. Peace and love, y'all. So I am now going to be paying much more attention for these nodes and the signs of the nodes. In Weaving Spider's Webs a couple weeks ago, Mario brought up this picture of a lovely muse who's nude, and she's all naked, and her hair is, she got her tatas out, and she's butt naked, and her hair is just all going everywhere. And I'm like, okay, I think that's, you know, that's probably Hera. But the fact that she's nude, I'm now thinking of the word nude. I'm drawing the bow a little bit further back, and I'm thinking that the word nude is encoding the nodes as well. So I'm going to also drop the tarot card for Taurus. The tarot card that is in Taurus from the Crowley deck is called the Aeon card. It used to be, pretty sure it was Judgment. Judgment used to be the tarot card for, there are two tarot cards, the Hierophant and the Judgment card. But in the Crowley deck, he uses the Aeon. And I'm tripping y'all. Look at how Newt, this Newt character is the node, the north node of the lunar standstill. It's really fascinating. There's a whole lot more going on. There's so much more going on. But Newt is nude. It's a nude Newt. So it's the north node. So fascinating how the Twilight language really does bring out much more depth and meaning. So yeah, the North Node is kind of blowing my mind, and there's another one down in Sagittarius, is the South Node, right in there where JFK, Aldous Huxley, and C.S. Lewis all died on the same day, near November 22nd, which is where Ophiuchus's heel is getting pierced by the scorpion's tail, kiss of betrayal. So I'm thinking that maybe what we're seeing with all these magical implements very passively placed for us to stumble into, I'm thinking that, oh, I should have kept that. I'm thinking that the North Node might be an offering of benefic magic. I believe that the North Node is an offering for good fortune, for lifting up. So this is me taking all the scary, hairy, carry baloney and empowering you to harness this for yourself. I believe that the North Node is for hopeful outcomes, to offer up your appreciation. And the South Node is designed for punching down. Down here. As we're going to endure the hardship of winter. So, you know, this is where the crabs in the bucket really got to work to stomp on their fellow man. So that's where the malefic magics would come in play. And up in Taurus, I believe, are for benefic intentions. So one thought, and this is just a theory, but if the powers that presume to be, if they really know about the power of intention that a lot of people refer to as magic, then they know the times and the dates to put their priorities in place. And this is a very important thing. Priorities is incredibly important. It's manifesting intention when you show your priorities through action. So if they know that tax day is paying Hera your first fruits, you know, that's why they take the tax out of your money before tax day, before you even get the money. They take it out, and then you have to do it again on tax day. So it's like they're catching your priorities before you can even decide what your priorities are. So my point is, the priorities are the first fruit. The first thing you're going to do is the most important thing. So this whole system of taxes is capturing your priorities. So I think that a good path might be to take full exemptions so that there's nothing taken out of your check, so that your intentions and the things that you want with your life energy can take priority, so you can buy the food and buy the gifts for the kids and do the things that are good and righteous. And then the bull gets her cut. She takes second seat. And you, the individual, get the first fruits. And you get to use your will and cut loose of the chains of this TAX, the American experiment. TAX, tax day. A lot of people have heard me go on and on about breaking these chains before. Yeah, I'm not even going to rant. All right. I want to talk about the heartbeat. I think the human heartbeat is a tower. I think the human heartbeat is in the medical industry. They have used this consistency of the meaning of the numbers, the tarot-based meaning of the numbers, and they've overlaid it onto the descriptive terms of art that are used to describe the human heartbeat. And this is the legend. This is a legend to map out the human heartbeat. It's PQRST. PQRST. And this is so fascinating to me. And I actually don't have uploaded what these are acronyms for, but it trips me out how the Christu of the crest of the Christ is riding the wave on your chariot, your cardio, your chariot of your heart. And so what really flips me out is how this is like a tower, a tower, a tall R, the top of the high point of your, what is it? You try to get that right. No, I'm not even gonna. Systolic? Your systolic pressure and your diastolic pressure. Maybe. I might have that screwy. But this is 18. R is 18. And S is 19. And so I believe we have a north node up here and a south node down here, which, oh, I did those all wrong. Look at that. See? Got to be impeccable. Trying to be impeccable. Getting better at these. All right. Yeah, so all the way from the macro to the micro, you know, the terms of art that are used, the calibers, the cult, the legends, all of these terms, they are supercharged, magically supercharged. And they become implements on your altar that we passively utilize, not realizing that the people who gave us these words were very clever. They were very, very clever. So I've been ranting for a very long time, but the winter triangle is going to be strong in my mind as one of the stars in the winter triangle is the Betelgeuse, and that is Kepri. The Kepri beetle has a lot to do with Keter, but that's initiation. The beetles, we're initiating you. This is the beginning. This is the scarab that began the history of Egypt. And one more point here is that all of this Egyptological Eastern technology, it cannot be any of the Orthodox religions. It can't be anything Orthodox. I'm going to make that my new disclaimer. Because this is cross-cultural, nobody who is Orthodox can be accused of being the source of putting this stuff forward. So you can't really try to corner down or pin any particular faith or homogenize any particular group of people for their language or their culture, because the sins of the father die with the father. So no more blame game, you know? All right. Much love and respect, everybody. I hope that gives us, empowers us to see how the magic is made, and we can start making our own sausage. All right, that was a long one. I'm going to try to bring a lot of visuals forward so my chicken scratch is not all that you have to go on. Much strength, much wisdom, everybody.